Hey everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and let's do a list of 5 isometric RPGs that you must play. So before we dive into the list, I of course have to define the terms of this argument, and isometric RPGs comprise some of my favorite RPGs of all time. Baldur's Gate 1, 2, Fallout 1 and 2 are prime examples of this genre. So it's a top-down bird's eye view, which is mostly two-dimensional, but with Baldur's Gate 3 you can have it in 3D with a movable camera, and it's a game where you're going to be exploring from this top-down view and then getting into combat in this view as well. And most of these games, if not all of them, the combat is real-time. So it's Baldur's Gate 2 style where you pause the game tactically and then give your people commands, and then they run around. Movement, spacing, position, range, all of these things are important as you play out an isometric RPG. So there isn't like usually a cutaway to a turn-based battle system, and it's not a tactical strategy game like Final Fantasy Tactics, which has an isometric view, but the game is not really played on an open world map. It's instanced locations and then completely turn-based on a grid inside an isometric perspective. So what we're going to do is focus on only games that I've played on the channel to limit the list a little bit, and I'm going to do a list that is more contemporary, but as well with some remasters, but mostly newer games, and I'm going to probably do a retro list some other point. I mean, Fallout 1 and 2 and Baldur's Gate 1 or 2 are some of my favorite isometric RPGs of all time, but I haven't played them on the channel. I did those before I was doing YouTube. So, maybe I'll revisit them and make another list, but these are modern ones, and what I like to do with these lists is try to provide games that are amazing and seminal, like you must play if you're a fan of the genre style games, but also sprinkle in some maybe more off the beaten path titles that you maybe haven't heard of but are also excellent, to provide recommendations for things to play in this space. Now, what I also love about this is when I do these lists, I get so many recommendations from people offering other games that, they consider a wonderful example of this genre that should be played. These are not necessarily the best of this space. They're just ones that I think I would offer as something fun that you would enjoy. And I really appreciate you sharing all of your recommendations down in the comments. I might make new videos on those games, and it's always fun to learn about games I've never heard of from you all, because you have an amazing knowledge of games, and there's just so many out there. And if you find this list to be useful and fun and you enjoy it, if you could consider subscribing to the channel, it would be amazing, and I would appreciate that. And I'm not going to present this list in order of best. I'm just going to throw out 5, and let's begin with UnderRail. So UnderRail is one that still I feel like just doesn't get enough attention, and it's one of those off the beaten path titles where it is a spiritual successor in many ways to Fallout 1 and 2, and is a kind of sci-fi post-apocalyptic isometric RPG. It is brutal. It is really hard, and yet I still think it's got some of the best world building and storytelling around. I love the different classes, the combat. Now there are some DLCs, and they extend, what you can do in the game and add more classes as well. I'm going to link in the description below. I have a complete playthrough of UnderRail from all the way through the Expedition DLC. This was before the latest DLC had come out, and it was, I would say, over 130 hours. It was a very long game, which is great. I had a blast with it. I played a psionicist. I was slinging my magic ability everywhere, and just having so much fun. The game has great dialogue, great lore, difficult but rewarding combat. There are factions that you can join. There's multiple paths that you can take. It is a deep complex game that offers hours and hours of play, which is fantastic. And so I offer UnderRail as just one of those games that maybe you haven't heard of it or you haven't tried it yet, that you really should, because it is fantastic. Next is Pillars of Eternity. Now, you can also play Pillars of Eternity 2, which I planned to at one point, but I've only played Pillars of Eternity, and I played the complete edition, and it is amazing. It is, a kind of like fan-funded game that is out of that Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, Planescape, Torment world, but more modern, and it's got amazing art. I love the story in this game. The combat is very, very fun. And what's really cool about Pillars is that you kind of get to build a base, and you upgrade your base over time, and you deal with things locally as a political leader. And then also you are this kind of magical person that can speak to the dead. And it's just such a cool vibe. The modern sensibilities to update what is already a very fun formula, it was so exciting, and it's an Obsidian game that just hits it right in so many ways. I can't say enough good things about Pillars of Eternity. It's going to give you hours and hours of fun, and at this point, it's very affordable, and it's got the great iconic portrait art of your characters, which gives you some Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition player's handbook feels. And it's just similar to UnderRail. You get to shape the world with your decisions, choosing your allegiances. There's side quests, and it is a beautiful kind of love letter, just like UnderRail is to those older isometric RPGs. Next, I'd like to recommend Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. This is another game that throws back love to the early isometric RPGs, but is in the Pathfinder rule system. So it's not a D&D based system, it's Pathfinder, and it's got amazing story, visuals, combat, good voice acting. I love the art. It is a very, very cool game that is just so well done. It's so polished, and it makes you feel powerful, right from the get-go. You're dealing with an amazing story. Things get really bad really fast after the opening sequence. And I myself did not play Pathfinder Kingmaker. I planned to at some point. I just kind of got this one on sale and jumped right in. I didn't notice anything. I didn't feel like I had missed anything. They do a job connecting the story, making sure that you are, into this world and this space. And it offers fantastic character customization, so many different abilities and items and things to get. There's secrets everywhere. I just had a blast playing Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, and I think it's a wonderful game that you could get on sale all the time again as a really, really substantial isometric RPG. Next is a remaster, and it is the Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition. So Planescape Torment is considered one of the best written RPGs of all time. It is just right in that wheelhouse of Black Isle Studios, churning out amazing Dungeons & Dragons RPGs like Baldur's Gate, and it is very much in that realm of Baldur's Gate 2 and is terrific, but it is also fundamentally different in that you play this kind of undying character in a very, very... Planescape is just always such a strange subset of the D&D universe. You're not in, Forgotten Realms. You are moving around through the planes, and it is a very difficult game at first, especially coming back. And, even with the Enhanced Edition, it is not going to hold your hand. It's not going to give you a lot of modern quality of life stuff. Mostly what it's about is enhanced resolution and visuals, and just making sure it runs on a modern PC, which I have the Steam version, and it runs beautifully. And it is going to give you lots and lots of reading, but it is worth it. The story is great. You have a floating talking skull as a companion that helps you fight, that you can upgrade by giving it new teeth. I mean, it is just such a bizarre but beautiful game. And if you have never played it, it's one of those things where you're doing yourself a service by checking out one of the giants in the space, and you're able to do it with the enhanced edition on a modern PC without jumping through too many hoops, which I found amazing. And finally, I'm going to wrap up with Avernum 4, Greed and Glory. And I'm talking about the recently released remaster of Avernum 4. So you could do any spiderweb game, really. They are just great isometric RPGs, but this is the one I've been playing the most recently, and I'm loving it. It is, runs very, very well. There's so many cool choices that you get to make. I'm playing on a harder difficulty, so you really have to think, but at the same time, it's super rewarding. There's lots of cool side quests that you can do, and the thing about Avernum is it's just such great world building. The idea of being under the ground, the politics above and below ground, seeing how things change, the different species, the ebbs and flows of the wars down there. It is such a unique experience. It actually kind of ties into UnderRail a little bit with, mushrooms and being in caverns and such. But Avernum 4 is great because you don't need to have played any of the previous Avernums. You can just jump in with 4. I think the way it works with the story is you can jump into Avernum 1 and then Avernum 4, but otherwise you would need to play the other titles to get the arc of the story. So 4 is a great place to just jump in, and it has a little bit even more nuance and depth than Escape the Pit, but it's still, both of them are great. Like, I had an amazing time with both of them. It's just that I'm currently playing Avernum 4, and it's fresh in my mind, so I really want to recommend it. It doesn't use Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder rules. It's its own system, and it is very intuitive if you've never played it before, but if you've played any other RPGs before. It is on the combat is grid-based, but you don't go to a new screen. You just fight right there on the environment, and just the way that some of these spells and area of effect things work is with grid design, but it is very much in this wheelhouse. And I think if you want to have a good time playing isometric RPGs, it's worth it to check out at least one spiderweb game, and this one is fantastic. Now what I'm going to do is offer some bonus titles. So, of course, you could think about Icewind Dale, Baldur's Gate 1, 2, Fallout 1 and 2. These are the games that I played growing up, but I haven't played them since, and they're not on the channel, so they would be maybe something I do a retro list for. But as far as contemporary isometric RPGs, I think it's worth mentioning Disco Elysium. And there's a lot of argument about whether or not Disco Elysium is fairly called an RPG, considering there's no real combat in the way that we think about it with these other RPGs. But it's just always worth mentioning Disco Elysium because, in my estimation, it's one of the best games ever made. It's got the best writing, atmosphere, music, art. It is just a masterpiece, and it is isometric. It is top-down. It is decision-based. You are rolling. And it's all about, the fact that you have multiple paths, multiple ways that you can, attempt to solve the mystery that you're confronted with, including the mystery of even who you are at the beginning of Disco Elysium. So, I'm just going to throw that out there, as it is off the beaten path in the sense of it's not maybe considered by all a traditional RPG, but it is an RPG where you get your items and you skill up your character, and you come back to certain roles after you have more items, more skill points, so you can give yourself a more favorable outcome. And there's side quests, there's main quests, so I'm totally comfortable putting it in that space. Of course, another modern title would be like Divinity Original Sin 1 or 2, but I didn't play those on the channel. But it would be criminal to neglect Baldur's Gate 3, at least mentioning it, because it's, arguably one of the best RPGs ever done, and it is isometric, even though it's got a 3D camera you can move around and has all this cool cinematic stuff and has been updated with all the bells and whistles of a contemporary game. It still, at its core, is a isometric RPG, and since I haven't played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 on the channel, but I did play Baldur's Gate 3, let me throw that in here. I just don't include it as a primary game here of the 5 isometric RPGs that you must play, because I figure everybody knows about this one. And yet, even so, gotta mention it because it is an awesome game. And also the Shadowrun games, and there's many of those of the Dragonfall arc, and those are also worth mentioning, but again, haven't played them on the channel. So I'm going to right now stick with this list. We're not including ARPGs, we're not including tactical games, we're just picking these 5 plus the bonus of Disco Elysium, and I hope this offers something fun for you to do if you're looking for a great RPG to kick back and enjoy. And I'm looking forward to seeing what games you all recommend that may be, indie titles or just less well-known isometric RPGs that deserve a mention. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you found this to be helpful and fun. I will check you next time. Take care.